From understanding the responsibility behind it to the evolutionary changes influenced by it, here are 8 ugly truths about poaching in Africa. Before we begin, be sure to subscribe to They Will Kill You. Hit the like button and request any topics you'd like to learn about in the comments section below. Number 8. Responsibility. The question of who is responsible for poaching in Africa doesn't really have any easy answers. The obvious blame would fall on the poachers themselves, but the vast majority of them are poverty-stricken men trying to support their families. Some hunt the animals to consume or sell the bushmeat, but many others do it to feed an illegal market of animal products which is always in high demand. Hunting certain animals like rhinos and elephants without special permits has been deemed illegal across most of the African continent, and the majority of these animals are found in parks and reserves, where they benefit from some protection. There are also worldwide bans on the trade of ivory and rhino horn. However, poachers and traffickers still find ways to work around these impediments. An argument can be made that the responsibility for poaching lies in the demand. If people would stop buying products like leopard or zebra skins, ivory, rhino horns, and various other exotic animal products, then the networks that supply them would crumble. Therefore, the question becomes, why are people buying these products? Number 7. Marketing myths. In Vietnam and China, there's the belief that when ingested, ground up rhino horn can cure anything from cancer to hangovers, that it can get people high or act as an aphrodisiac. None of this is supported by any medical evidence, and since the horn is mainly made up of keratin, it's sort of like hoping for such miraculous effects after ingesting fingernails. A kilo of ground rhino horn may cost upwards of $60,000, which is more than gold. In China, ivory is used to create various works of art that, to some degree, act like symbols of status and are often offered as gifts. Some Chinese shops are licensed to sell ivory, whether it's in the form of crafted items or entire tusks. However, they must provide a type of ID that the products come from legal government stockpiles. Unfortunately, there are ways to work around that by recycling and recirculating the same IDs. There's also a lot of illegal ivory in China, and in 2013 alone, the government confiscated approximately 7 tons. Zebra, leopard, and crocodile skins are trafficked merely for appeal, as items crafted from them are regarded as highly valuable in certain circles. The bones of big felines such as lions, cheetahs, and leopards are also traded illegally for use in traditional Asian folk medicines, despite research that they don't have any effect in improving health. Up until fairly recently, the US was the second biggest market for ivory, and throughout the trade's history, products have included buttons, combs, pool balls, and most notably, piano keys. However, in 2013, under President Obama, the US issued a ban on the sale of ivory inside its borders, and to send a message to poachers, 6 tons of illegal ivory were crushed. Many organizations all over the world have been working to dispel the myths surrounding certain animal products and to educate the public about the harmful effects of poaching. Number 6. Effects. Poaching has many devastating effects, the most obvious of which is that animals, many vulnerable, threatened, or critically endangered, are slaughtered for profit. The animal populations in the wild decline, and some species even face extinction. For example, on March the 19th, 2018, the world's last known male northern white rhino died in Kenya. Wildlife tourism, which in certain regions is a vital part of the economy, receives bad publicity as a consequence of this illegal practice. Unfortunately, it gets worse. Poaching has become so rampant in recent years that tribal people in Africa are often falsely accused. They're evicted from their lands so that natural reserves can be built in an effort to protect the animals. Even these areas are becoming smaller in size, as poachers tend to use the edges to hunt animals for trade. The profits attached to poaching also enable corruption on many levels, from local politics to middlemen bribes. Despicable practices, such as trophy hunting, are sometimes performed under legal circumstances, with promises that the money from the issued permits would be used to help the animals. Yet in many cases, the funds are never used as promised and there's little follow-up to ensure that they are. Number 5. Trade. According to the UN and Interpol, trade in wildlife products generates around $23 billion each year. The basic inner workings of poaching aren't hard to grasp. Once the horns, tusks, or skin is removed from the animal, poachers need to transport the items as soon as possible. When the items can't be moved right away, poachers will hide them for a period of time until it's safe. Transportation is done through international criminal networks and middlemen, and the items are often concealed in shipping containers destined for different ports around the world. Bribes ensure the entire process runs smoothly. Once they make it to their destination, they're collected by dealers who deliver to manufacturers or the end customer. It recently emerged that one of the largest black markets for such products is on Facebook in secret groups. Even though this is against Facebook's policy, it's reportedly difficult to track its ever-expanding user base. Number 4. Geotagging. There are many ways poaching takes place, which have evolved over time from basic track and kill to geotagging. African safaris are sought-after experiences, and many people visiting the continent do so hoping that they'll return with incredible memories. To make sure these memories last, they take photos using their smartphones, unaware that they might be providing poachers with the means to track down animals. Geotagging is a smartphone function that attaches geographic information to the pictures taken. So, if tourists forget to turn off this feature and the pictures posted online, poachers can extract the metadata with ease to find out the coordinates and location of certain animals. Rhinos are known to remain in the same area for several days, so even older photos can provide poachers with the information needed. Many of them are familiar with the land, so even if geotagging isn't turned on, they can still recognize a mountain or waterfall in the background of a picture. To combat this, several safari tours have banned the use of cell phones altogether. Number 3. Dehorning. Rhino horn is more expensive than gold, and consequently, their population has declined drastically due to poaching in recent years. In an effort to protect rhinos from poachers, one extreme method practiced by conservationists is to remove their horns altogether. After a rhino has been sedated, they'll remove its horn with a chainsaw or similarly powerful cutting device. It's a painless procedure for the animal. The horn isn't attached to the rhino's skull and is mainly made out of melanin, calcium, and keratin. It's sort of the equivalent of clipping a nail. However, in the wild, females need their horns to protect their calves from predators, and males need them to fend off potential challengers. Moreover, dehorning hasn't really deterred poachers, as even the money they get for a stub is still substantial. It's also an expensive procedure of close to $1,000 per rhino, which has to be repeated as the horn grows back over time. It's been estimated that to dehorn all of the rhinos from KRUGER National Park only once would cost anywhere from $6 to $9 million. Number 2. Horn poisoning. In 2010, the Rhino Rescue Project began filling rhino horns with toxic chemicals, and the practice was picked up by other conservationists. After the rhino is sedated, a hole is drilled in its horn, after which a mixture of red dye and parasiticides is injected inside, which reportedly spreads throughout the horn. The poison won't kill whoever ingests it. Instead, it will make them violently ill, with symptoms including stomach cramps, diarrhea, vomiting, and the risk of going into convulsions. Since the horn isn't linked to the rhino's bloodstream, the animal isn't affected by the poison. The red dye lets the poacher know that the horn is tainted, and signs are posted warning them the horns of the animals in a region have been poisoned. The dye also shows up on x-rays, making it difficult to smuggle the goods out of Africa. There are some potential drawbacks to this method. Some argue that the poison remains in the drilling area and doesn't really flow through the horn. Even if it does, the poachers or middlemen might decide to bleach the horn powder and sell it anyway, regardless of the risks to the buyer's health. Also, people like certain Asian businessmen who buy rhino horns as ornaments won't be affected by the practice. Another issue is that there really isn't enough awareness that horn poisoning exists to significantly impact the market. Number 1. Tuskless elephants. When it comes to elephants, Poachers typically hunt the animals with the largest tusks, since that's what earns the most profit. By recent estimates, 80% of all the raw ivory that's being traded comes from African elephants, and from 2007 to 2014, an estimated 144,000 African elephants were killed by poachers. There are measures being taken to protect elephants and anti-poaching campaigns that are supported by millions of dollars in donations from companies like Google and celebrities like Leonardo DiCaprio or Angelina Jolie. While these actions contribute to stabilizing elephant populations, a worrying evolutionary tendency has been observed in recent years. More and more elephants are born without tusks, an adaptation that has been attributed to extensive poaching. A study shows that more than a third of the female elephants from Zambia's South Luangwa National Park were born without their trademark teeth. 98% of the females in South Africa's ADDO Elephant National Park have no ivory. The tuskless gene, which also affects the male population, is passed on. This means that in a few years, elephants might lose their tusks entirely. Even if this implies they might be safer from poachers, it would still be a tragic outcome. Elephants use their tusks to dig for water or food, to move trees and branches around, for self-defense and for sexual display. Thanks for watching. What other ugly truths about poaching do you know? Tell us about them in the comments section below.